So, hip shooting style photography. In which situation is it best suited for, and when is it not so good for? Hip style photography allows you to take a photo that doesn't necessarily look like we're taking a photo. It's a lot more undercover and a lot more discreet. This style of photography gives you a much higher possibility of approaching a subject or a scene, taking a photo and leaving that scene without anybody realizing that you've just taken a photo. This in turn allows you to capture close-ups of real-life situation as they unfold, almost like a wildlife photographer observing animals in their natural state. I mean, most of the time, people do not even realize that I've taken their picture. And if done correctly, you can capture some wonderful images, but it is a difficult technique to get right. And you will need to practice before going out on the streets. If you're worried about doing hip photography, it will definitely show up in your work. It is all about the intention and energy that you carry with you. This will determine the type of photos that you capture. It's much like walking into a room of people. If you enter the room with a mindset of fear that you're doing something wrong or you don't belong there, then other people in that room are going to pick up on this and start to look at you as if you're doing something wrong. They will pick up on the fact that you are scared. Here are some examples of the photos that I have taken using the hip shot technique. I just would not have been able to capture them in any other way. One way you can practice this technique is at home, is to put an object on the table, something like a can of beans or a bag of rice or anything really. You can then stand 2 or 3 meters away and then quickly draw up your camera and try to capture your item in focus and with good composition. This is difficult to do, but with practice, you will soon get the hang of things. Once you have mastered the standing draw, you can now move on and add some movement. Start to walk past the table and do the same thing. Keep trying until you get the hang of it. It can be a little bit frustrating, but you'll soon get the rhythm. After some practice, and now that you can get sharp images and decent composition, you are ready to hit the streets. So autofocus is great and it is very useful, but it is not the best way of focusing when it comes to hip shooting. Manual focus is the way to go, as it is a lot faster in capturing those split-second images where, as autofocus, you will need to find the subject, try and focus. By the time it is done that, the moment has passed by. So I will set my manual focus to around 2 meters, 2.5 meters, and then a selector aperture of around f4, f5, something like that. So you can start off by selecting a frame that you like, and then just waiting for people to interact with that frame. Then drawing from the hip and taking your photo just like you have already practiced at home with a bag of rice or can, whatever it was. So we don't always want to play by the rules and get flat images. Sometimes a wonky image can be amazing, but most of the time you'll want to practice getting photos that are flat. Here is a tip that I use to get photos that are nice and flat. Right, can you see this line on my lens? If I can just about see this line, I know that my photos will be nice and flat. If I can see all of this line, I know that I'm tilted upwards. And if I cannot see any of this line, I know that I'm shooting towards the floor. It's all trial and error, so just get the feel of things. This will probably be different for your camera, but I'm sure you get the point. Work out some similar kind of system for your camera and setup and get practicing. Once you work this out, you can then start placing your chosen subject in your frame at will. When you repeat this motion over and over again, your muscles will start to memorize the motion and it will be like brushing your teeth. Now, some of you might be thinking, why can't I just use my flip out screen? I mean, you can if you want to, there are no rules here. Photography is all about what works best for you. So don't worry about what other people are doing, just develop a system that suits your skill set and suits your camera setup. So hip style photography is quicker than any autofocus system is or ever will be. Your camera does not have to find a subject, focus on it, and then release the shutter. It's simple as that. It just takes the picture. Just try it for yourself and you'll see exactly what I mean. So now that you have practiced on your bag of rice or your can of beans, whichever one, and you have been able to get sharp photos with good composition, you're now ready to hit the streets and capture some amazing photos.